Man, I'm really honored to have you on, and this is gonna be a great interview here. I'm gonna learn a lot from you. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on. And how are you and your family doing?
My family's doing great. It's been one of those times again where it's hectic for everybody, and but life is good, man. Life is good as long as you're around, and there's some hectic stuff. But every day you can get up in the morning, and you can see another sunlight. The sun's is beautiful.
Yeah. So, can you explain your background a little bit? When did you get interested in playing basketball in your career, and who was your biggest influencer in that?
Interest in probably playing basketball was probably at about, I want to say probably about age 7, 8. Yeah, I think I was 8 years old. And my biggest influence was my mother. My mother was a basketball player in college, dropped out to have me. So she's lived vicariously through me playing ever since. And she was the person I used to play with in the backyard almost every day. So I think I have to give her huge props on who she was as a person who was influential.
Hmm. So, take me back to your the college days, and what was that experience like playing college basketball and getting that experience and learning under that coaching staff and becoming a better basketball player before the NBA draft?
It was great in the sense that I went to a school, UNC Charlotte. I went there in 1973, and we were just one of the top independents. And then we got to a major conference, and then we went to the NIT, where 1976, where I was the most valuable player. And then the next year, we made the big dance, and there were, I want to say it was 32 teams at that time. And we ended up being one of the teams in the finals, the Final Four, and lost to Marquette by a controversial basket with Al McGuire. And that was my college career. It was absolutely amazing to go from a school that nobody knew about to a school that a lot of people knew about. And now to see that school, when I first began, it had about 9,000 students. I think it was about 7,000 commuter students. And now it has a population over 33,000. So to see its growth was astounding.
Hmm. So now, take me to your draft experience and being with the family and friends, and when you got that call from the Boston Celtics. Oh.
No family, dude. No family, no friends. Remember, this was 1977. There was no draft then, like it now. Like you think about the NBA draft, everybody's sitting in the big room, you're at a big arena and all this. No, you were essentially, when I was drafted, it was ticker tape. And I was sitting in my attorney's office in Cincinnati, Ohio. And the names came across in these little burbs and where you might go. And the Celtics were the next. It was Celtics were picking 12. Atlanta was picking 13. And when it got to 12, I was praying that the Celtics did not take me because I was a Southern boy. I wanted to be in the South. I wanted Atlanta to take me. And next thing I know is, boom, I'm picked by the Celtics at number 12. And my experience started from there. To go to meet with Red Auerbach and Tommy Heinsohn at the time, where Red was the general manager. Tommy Heinsohn was my coach. And played with 7 All-Stars my first year, including John Havlicek, JoJo White, Dave Cowens, Sidney Wicks, Curtis Rowe, Dave Bing. A lot of these guys I'm talking about right now are Hall of Famers. So I learned a lot from those guys that I played with that year.
Yeah, so take me back to explain to me your rookie season and what, obviously you just mentioned the names, and what did you learn though in your rookie season, and how did they adapt you into the system, and how quickly did you learn it?
What I learned was patience, intestinal fortitude, sticking with it, understanding who I was as a player, and understanding who I was as a young professional. During that time, there were a lot of drugs in the NBA, and I wasn't a drug taker, so I didn't get into that. So I had to be my own man when it came to that. Players on the team were using recreational drugs, And then there was other guys who were just leading by examples. I love Dave Bing, who became a great mentor and a great friend. As I watched him, his last year in the league, he came to the Celtics to win the championship, and it was one of the worst years for the Seas. And so I learned a lot playing behind John Havlicek and seeing John, his preparation and what he did to learn the game. I just to soak and drink all that stuff in as I watched John. So it was just so many different things I was able to learn and gather that year. And that prepared me for my career going forward. When all those guys were gone, it was my second year in the league. I averaged like 19 and 10 that year. And so I thought I was hot shit that year. And then it was all of a sudden we got some kid who walked in, and in my third year, his name was Larry Joe Bird. I didn't really pay that much attention. I was like, guy wasn't fast. He wasn't no, overpowering guy. I didn't see nothing about him that, struck fear in me. But we learned that day who Larry was, and he learned who I was. We had a tremendous battle during just the camp, the first couple of days of camp. And then we got put on the same team, and we became one of the best forward combinations in the league that year. So I learned a lot from Larry, learned, that you can't judge a book by its cover, because I gave Larry the clap, the slow clap, as most black players would do, gave him the here he comes, the great white hope. I'm thinking like, yeah, okay, whatever. Got out there and played with those first couple of shots. I remember after it was over, walking to the first black person I could see and go, you know what? I think a white guy could play right there. So that was my introduction to Larry Bird.
Wow. So speaking of Larry Bird, so moving towards your career, what was the experience like playing with obviously Tiny Archibald, another MVP, also Larry Bird you just mentioned, and also Robert Parish, so another great legend. So what was it like playing with all of them on the same team back in the day?
Well, Tiny came in my second year in the league. He got traded from Buffalo and was very quiet, but nice, just quiet dude. And that year he was coming off his second Achilles injury. So he came back. He wasn't really moving as fast, but he still had knowledge of the game. So I watched him work to get back into shape, and watched him work to get his quickness and his foot speed and all this stuff back. And that was a lesson to behold. To get Robert Parish and Kevin McHale the same year, year number 4, when we got Kevin and Robert in the trade for Joe Barry Carroll, and then it was Zoom from there. We had in my opinion, the best front line ever to play the game would have been us 4 guys together. We were so dynamic, and we were so young. Everybody was in their 20s, and it was just there was some battles in practice that defied logic. Some of the games we had, they were killers. So I love the fact that we played against each other and played with each other also.
So, excuse me. So I got actually this question. So back in the day, all of you guys are playing in shorts, and now this generation of regular shorts. So what was the idea of that? How did that become about back in the day when people were playing?
Everybody played in that. That was what the girls loved it. When you see the guys had the tight shorts on, people loved it. And we had, let's say there was a game maybe about 6 or 7 years ago against the Lakers, Celtics Lakers. As a broadcaster, I'm sitting there on the floor. Well, the Lakers had a throwback to that era, and they put on the short shorts, and they came out and played in it the first half, and then the second half they went back to their long baggy pants. And I remember Kobe Bryant coming over to me and said, "Max, I don't know how the hell y'all played in these damn pants." And that was really funny to hear him say that, but that was the equipment that was given. We didn't, and then it went from the tight shorts to the long shorts that Jalen Rose and all those guys kind of bought into vogue for Michigan, and then it went back to like regular pants. So it was quite a treat to see how everything transpired.
So I wanted to ask you this question: what was it like playing against the Lakers, the Celtics-Lakers battles back in the day, and now it's still going? But what was it like playing against Kareem, your friend Kareem, and Magic Johnson, all that?
Yeah, it was. I won't say difficult because we didn't like them. Personally, I didn't like them. It wasn't like they weren't good people. I could give a damn if they were good people. They were just guys that were in my way trying to get what I wanted. So most professional players were selfish. And so we were trying to win a championship, and they were the team that was going to stand between us. We had probably even better battles, I think, against Philadelphia, the 76ers. And Nate Archibald could have told you about those, just how dynamic. We had a series against the Sixers in 1981 that was it was to get to the finals. It was, and to play the Houston Rockets. And it was the most physical, most challenging, emotional series I ever played against. And Dr. J and Maurice Cheeks and Andrew Toney and Bobby Jones and Caldwell Jones and Darryl Dawkins. These are legendary names. And we had two or three grueling series that we had 1980, 1981, and 1982 that we had against the Sixers every year. It was us, either one of us trying to get to the finals.
Wow. Man, that's crazy. So my next question here, what are your thoughts on what? Actually, no. Let me ask you this: what advice would you give these young players now that are trying to become where you were at and other NBA players? So, what advice would you give these young athletes?
Obviously, the whole thing about working hard, but developing your skills, having a tremendous skill set. I mean, it's not about right now. The NBA is not about the tallest or the fastest or the strongest. It's the guy who's best equipped to play. The way the game is now, it is a game of foot speed. It's a game of shooting ability. It's a game of guarding multiple positions. I think all these things kind of go into play. So you think in that way of that's what I would tell them, that you have to develop a three-point shot. You think of it this way, that the tallest guy on the Celtics roster right now is Taco Fall.
Yeah.
Taco Fall he can't break the starting lineup. He can't get into games until the games are essentially over. And at 7'5", the guys like that are almost dinosaurs because you have to guard multiple positions and you have to be able to knock the jump shots from the outside. You have to be able to knock those down. So you have to have a tremendous skill set, and it better be in all phases of the game. You better be able to defend the ball. You better be able to rebound the ball, pass the ball, and shoot the ball. So get those four skills together.
Yeah. So now going back to your career, obviously you won Finals MVP. And what was it like playing in the NBA Finals and high competition level? Especially, everybody hates each other during the finals and trying to win games. So what was that experience like, and winning the MVP Finals MVP?
It was obviously one of the great moments of my career, basketball-wise, because you think about it, to be a finals in the MVP, the finals that year, and the MVP is a stone in your cap because of the guys you played with and played against. The year that I was the MVP in 1981 against the Houston Rockets, there were, I think I want to say at least 6 potential Hall of Famers who ended up playing in that game. And to say that I was the best of the best at that time is really huge. You think Bird was there, McHale, Parish, Nate Archibald, Moses Malone, Kelvin Murphy, Rudy Tomjanovich played during that time. And to say that I was the most effective, best player in that series, that's huge when you think about playing. I mean, you can't get a bigger honor than that in the NBA, being the Finals MVP.
Yeah. So now I do this segment called Rapid Fire segment with all my guests. So you ready for this?
Yep, I'm ready.
Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
Kawhi Leonard, because it's so extraordinarily dull that it scared you. It scared you the first time. I thought something was wrong with him. So yeah, I would go with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. So now I heard that someone's writing a book on you. So how did that become about?
It was over the years, being a player for 11 years and then a broadcaster for 25 years, all the experiences I've had basketball-wise, bringing those things all together. And I think there are going to be some people going to be really interested in the process. So I think that's one of the things you look at and that we're going to write about in this book. My experience with Larry and Kevin and Rob, experiences off the floor. All things that have happened to me. It's going to be a fascinating read.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Favorite food?
Ooh. I would say pizza. Pizza, because there's so many combinations. I like multiple layers. So, and I'm a meat lover. So if I put 2 or 3 meats up there, and I put 2 or 3 vegetables up there, and cheese up there, and bread up there, you have a complete meal if you get a pizza. It's not too much that's going to be lacking.
What new things are you learning during this quarantine?
How to be patient and how to be safe. Understanding that, a lot of things I like to do that I can't do is freely. And that's just walking out the door, making sure you have a mask on, making sure you wash your hands all the time. I mean, just so many things that you end up doing that you took for granted that now that you really have to think about. I mean, us as men, we go to the bathroom and, we think about washing our hands afterwards, but sometimes we just slip. Now, anything you do, essentially, you're washing and cleaning and doing all these things by yourself. Now, I have a rapid fire thing I like to do with people I talk to. So I'm gonna hit you off with one. Okay. Give me your Mount Rushmore of sports. The 4 people you can pick, and you got a Mount Rushmore you're building at your house. They don't have to be in the same sport, nothing like that. So give me your 4.
Okay. So my first one, obviously Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
The second one would be, I would say, actually, I would put you up there.
Oh, no, that wouldn't be it. You would that I'd argue with, but go ahead.
All right. The second, actually, I'll put Larry Bird up there.
Okay.
The third one would be Magic Johnson.
Okay.
And then the fourth one, I'm gonna put Tom Brady up there.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a pretty good take. Mine was Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, because he's changed the whole persona around golf. And then I went off the board a little bit. I went with what I thought was the greatest female athlete of all time. I went with Serena Williams.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you passed. Couldn't be wrong, so you passed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so you can't go wrong with all the athletes. So even you, when some of these other athletes, I mean, it's hard, especially when people go to these. Let me ask you an interesting question here. When people go to when they do their list for Mount Rushmore, I mean, obviously it's a limited list. How tough it is for all of you guys, especially analysts and former players, to make their list. How tough it is to go through these.
Different people have different things. You think about it. It's like there are guys who were there was a gentleman I was sitting across from, and he was from India. And he's actually from London, but he was Indian descent. And we were talking about, asking him the same question. And he said he went a little different because it's a world view. He gave me a soccer player, but he gave me a cricket player. He gave me, was it Youngtime Bow? It was somebody like that who was a cricket player. And then he went Michael Schumacher, excuse me, who was the great car driver. So, it depends on where you're from. You would think because soccer is the most popular sport, you would think that it would dominate. But in the U.S., for the most part, it seems like Jordan has always been in there, and then maybe Brady. And then you think about now where you're going to go. And that's why I said Tiger to me. And then the influence that Muhammad Ali had over my life, that's probably took me to that spot.
Yeah. So who did you look up to? Actually, this is where it leads to my next rapid fire question. Who did you look up to as a when you were growing up? Who did you look up to as a role model in the sport
That,
yeah.
my parents, really.
Mm.
My father was a United States Marine
Oh.
gunny sergeant, so I had to look up to him. And then my other influence was my mother, who was in her own right was a great basketball player when she was in college. And I just watched them, take a family, especially a family during the 60s and, the turbulence of, everybody talks about racial equality. During the 60s, it was just such an imbalance. And to watch them navigate that, to me, has always been something that, I will hold true. Tell you a story that was a quick story. We were at a place called Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 1964. And it was segregated at the time. So we go to a beach, which is called Atlantic Beach, which is part of Myrtle Beach.
Right. And
literally that's where the people of color were supposed to go to swim. Well, to keep people separate and to keep, it's amazing to think about it. And I end up tweeting this out. There was at the top of the beach, extending into the water all the way down to the deep end of the water, they put a chain link fence in the water to keep blacks away from whites. And that to me was like, when I was 8 years old, I didn't even understand it. And then I looked back, I saw this picture that my buddy Nick found for me, and it just kind of brought everything back home. Like, wow, I can't believe that, that kind of stuff happened at that time. And even more so, how do you explain that to an 8-year-old child? How do you explain that there's a barrier in the water, at the ocean, that's going to keep blacks away from whites? That to me was something else. So for my parents to be involved in that, that's why they're my role models.
Yeah. So, out of all the teammates you played with in Boston, who was the funniest one?
Robert Parish. Robert Parish just had this. He would have been like you like to laugh about Kawhi Leonard's laugh. Robert Parish had that kind of deep laugh like that all the time. I was watching that movie. Jack Nicholson played in it, and it was a movie called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And they had the big Indian guy in there, real tall, and they didn't think he could talk. And then he's like, you hear him going, and they had that deep laugh like Robert. And that's how I called Robert the Chief, because of, the persona that Chief was such a cool dude. But nobody really knew that much about him, but because of, who he was.
Yeah, so I got to ask you this. Yesterday I interviewed Ro Parish. You know who Ro Parish is?
No, I don't know that name.
So I interviewed him yesterday. He does work with NBA TV, and he is a Turner sport analyst, and he's done work with NFL Network, and also he's a retired DJ. And I was trying to figure out if he's related to Robert Parish, but I guess not. But yeah. So my next question here: what do you like to do outside of your podcast?
I love playing Scrabble. Probably play Scrabble maybe 3 or 4 times a day online against all these people, and it kind of slows my mind down. I try to walk. I'm active. I love cooking, television. I am a sci-fi person. Let me see. That that fills it up, and the fact I have have 4 kids and a grandson and a granddaughter that's coming. So, and then my mother and father are still alive. So I just have a big collection of things which are in my life.
Congrats on that. So my next question here: what are your thoughts on this Michael Jordan documentary?
I think what I think about Michael in that regard is that it just seems like Michael Jordan didn't lose a game. And I know when he first got in the NBA, he took a lot of ass kickings. And so they don't talk about that as much. I think that's kind of funny. I did a podcast with Robert Parish, and we talked about it. And Robert played with Michael on one of those last years that he was in the last dance. And Robert was talking about an incident which happened, and I asked him about Jordan. He said he was a bully. He said, bully. I said, why? He said, because he wanted to lead by intimidation and fear. And I guess Robert was playing with Michael in a practice game, and they won the first game. And then Phil Jackson, the head coach, switched Robert Parish up on the second team. Where Robert said, these were my boys. You know, I love playing with them. And so I guess that second team beat Michael's team 3 times in a row. So walking off the floor, Robert said to Michael, he said, Michael, hey, how you like them ass kickings we just gave you? And Robert and Michael didn't appreciate it and said, you know what, keep talking, I'm going to kick your ass. And Robert like, you and who else, dude? And so it was like he was just talking about that. And it just really, it was a great story to think about Michael as the intimidator. And you could see some of it in the Last Dance that, you know, there were a lot of guys who were more or less intimidated and afraid of Michael and who he was as a person. And that, to me, that's that. As in Michael's way, he led that way. But for me, that doesn't work. I don't want to be intimidated to play the right way. I want to be kind of prodded along and shown the right way. And you give them an example, but to be bullied into it, that wouldn't have worked for me.
Right. So the last 2 things here, but before we get to the last 2 things, obviously all of us are going through a tough time with this racism stuff, and rest in peace, George Floyd. My prayers and thoughts are with his family and friends. And obviously the protests, everybody's speaking out, former athletes, current athletes, and with this protest. But is there like a different way that all of us can come together and fix this situation?
It's just going to take time. I mean, we're talking in America, we're talking about 400 years of slavery and racism, and all that stuff isn't going away overnight. I think that what you have is a start. And if there's a way to fix it, first it's going to be with dialogue and understanding who everyone is and respecting the other person. Until we do that, we're not going to make that change. And so far, there's a class system here in America. There's the haves and the have-nots. And because of those 2 classes, until they kind of come together a little bit closer, it's not going to be, we're not going to learn that much.
Yeah, so the last 2 things here, this is a question I've been bringing up to all my guests about the late Kobe Bryant and what he meant to them. And he was one of my role models growing up, obviously in basketball. So for you being a former athlete, and you mentioned Kobe earlier during this interview that he said something to you while you were playing. And what did he mean to you and Mama mentality and his daughter Gianna?
You know, for me, it didn't mean as much because I didn't play against him.
Yeah.
I admired him as a player, and I got a chance to know him those last maybe 4 or 5 years. He played. I think I was with my good buddy who I played with, Norm Nixon, who was working for the Lakers at that time, and Kobe Bryant was walking in, before a game. And Norm said, yo, there's Kobe. He said, you want to meet him? I'm like, sure. I walked over and said hi. I was about to introduce myself. He's like, man, I know who you are. You know, Kobe is a student of the game. So then I got to learn that, the fact he was a student of the game. Then the last game he played in Boston, he hit a game-winning shot. And after the game, he was doing an autobiography of the arenas he played in. So they shoot everybody else out. I was there to do an interview with a television post-game hit. And Kobe Bryant was walking in, and he saw me. He came over, Max. I said, oh, what's up, man? He said, let me tell you why. You want to know why I play the way I do, play so hard? I was like, why is that? He said, because when I used to watch you guys in the 80s, I used to be yelling, get him. I'm like, whoa, Kobe, come. And so with that, we just had a little give and take. And the last game the Celtics played against the Lakers, I wore a purple tie. Mm-hmm. And that time we were sitting beside the Laker bench. He looked at me and said, purple tie. I said, dude, this is in honor of you. And he just kind of laughed, and he, you know, dapped each other up. And then after the Celtics ended up winning the game, we were doing an interview with Marcus Smart. Kobe was walking off the last time versus the Celtics. And he stopped in the middle of thought and started walking towards me, came over to me and like dapped me up. And it was one of the coolest moments of admiration from a superstar in the league. To know me, to know about me, to give me the respect for coming over to say hi and goodbye. And I just said, dude, I appreciate your career, and I have nothing but love and luck for you. And he was pretty successful until, you know, finally the tragic ending of him and his daughter.
Yeah. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers?
We just have a great appreciation for what you do. I mean, you put your life on the line. Yeah, we're entertainers and you call us heroes, but the real heroes would be you. You know, for somebody to go out and to help other people that become better and actually put their lives on the line. I mean, basketball players, we go out and we just play, you know, and whatever, you know, it's not a, you know, it looks to be, you know, it's a tough sport and all that, but for what you do in your lives and what you might sacrifice for your family and all the frontline people who have died because of this, there's nothing but great admiration. And again, the hero status goes to you. It doesn't go to us, but it goes to you.
Yeah, so there he is, the great Cedric Maxwell, Finals MVP from the Boston Celtics. Man, this has been an honor. Great conversation, inspiring conversation. I learned a lot from this. But before I let you go, I'm sure you know this kid, Global Kid Media on Instagram. You should check his page out. He's done 1,000 interviews. He's 13 years old. He's trying to be the first sideline kid reporter in any sport. So, and he said that he's trying to interview you also on his show.
Well, we'll see if we're able to get it done. You know, there's a lot of stuff out here going on right now, but maybe we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Good luck to you and your family.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I saw your recent podcast with Kendrick Perkins, man. I really would love to have him on my show if you can put in the word.
Perk is nothing but a ball of fun, so maybe I can get the word out and maybe Perk can get on with you.
Oh, thank you so much, man. And this has been an honor. Again, thank you. And I'll be posting this on all social media formats and so everybody can see this. And, man, you and your family stay safe.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thank you.
All right.